There's a specific gap that exists between how intelligent someone actually is and how intelligent they appear to other people. For some people, that gap is small, for others, it's enormous, and it always runs in the same direction. They're sharper than they look, not because they hide it, because certain habits they've never examined are quietly broadcasting the wrong signal to everyone around them. This video is about those habits. Before we get into them, one thing worth saying clearly. This is not about IQ scores. IQ measures a narrow slice of cognitive ability under controlled conditions and has almost nothing to do with how your thinking is perceived in real life. What we're actually talking about is something closer to intellectual credibility, the degree to which the people around you trust your thinking. That's built and destroyed in specific observable ways. And most people have never been told what those ways are. Here are 5 habits that destroy it without you knowing. The first is speaking in certainties you haven't earned. There's a particular kind of person who never says, "I think," or "I'm not sure," but every statement comes out fully formed, declarative, non-negotiable. It sounds confident. It reads as the opposite. Because people who actually know things deeply know how much they don't know. The more genuinely expert someone is in a field, the more hedged their language becomes. The Dunning-Kruger research, and yes, that research has its own methodological critics, which is worth knowing, still captures something real at its core. The people most certain are often the least informed, and everyone around them can sense it even when they can't name it. The fix isn't to become less confident, it's to make your confidence proportional to your actual evidence. "I think this is right because" is more persuasive than "this is right every single time." The second habit is never changing your mind in public. This one is subtle and almost universally misunderstood. Most people treat a public position change as a loss, something to avoid, something that signals weakness. The opposite is true. Changing your mind when presented with better evidence is one of the clearest signals of good thinking that exists. It demonstrates that your positions are connected to reality rather than to your ego. The people who never change their minds publicly aren't perceived as consistent. They're perceived as rigid. And rigid thinkers, regardless of their actual intelligence, get quietly discounted. The habit to build is simple. When someone makes a better point than you, say so out loud. That's actually a better way to look at it, costs you nothing, and builds more intellectual credibility than winning the argument would have. The third is filling silence with noise. This is the one most people don't see in themselves. When a conversation has a gap, when someone asks a hard question, when the room goes quiet, some people feel compelled to fill it immediately. Anything to avoid the silence. And what comes out is usually underdeveloped, slightly off-point, and instantly forgettable. Silence in a conversation is not a problem to solve. It's a signal that thinking is happening. The people who are most trusted in rooms, the ones whose words carry weight when they speak, are almost always the ones who speak less and pause longer. The habit isn't to stay silent for performance. It's to stop treating silence as an emergency. The fourth habit is explaining things at the wrong level. This one cuts in both directions. Some people over-explain or burying a simple point under so much qualification and context that the point disappears entirely. Others under-explain, assuming shared knowledge that doesn't exist and leaving people behind without realizing it. Both versions signal the same thing, an inability to accurately model what the other person actually knows. And that modeling ability, called theory of mind in the research, is one of the most reliable markers of sophisticated thinking. The practical version of this is one question asked before any explanation. What does this person already know about this? That single question changes the entire quality of what comes out next. The fifth habit is the quietest one and probably the most damaging. It's reacting to ideas based on who said them rather than what they said. Someone you respect makes a point and it sounds brilliant. Someone you've already dismissed makes the identical point and it sounds obvious or wrong. This is called the halo effect, and its cousin the horn effect. And almost everyone does it, including people who would strongly deny it. The reason it signals limited thinking is that it means your conclusions are being driven by social allegiance rather than logic. And people around you will notice the inconsistency even when they don't consciously track it. The habit to build is one simple internal question when you find yourself agreeing or disagreeing strongly. Would I think the same thing if someone I didn't already have an opinion of said this? None of these habits are signs of low intelligence. That framing is too simple and frankly not very useful. They're signs of unexamined defaults, thinking patterns that formed without scrutiny and have been running on autopilot ever since. The gap between how sharp you are and how sharp you appear isn't a talent gap. It's an awareness gap. And awareness gaps, unlike talent gaps, are fully closable. The person in that meeting I mentioned at the start, the one who lost the room in 15 minutes, was genuinely smart. I looked them up afterward. Impressive track record. What they couldn't do was separate their ego from their thinking long enough for anyone else to see the intelligence underneath it. That's the whole game. Not smarter, just cleaner. Subscribe for more videos like this.